Which brings us to the final explanation, Neville Chamberlain. Chamberlain now is remembered mostly by history as the great failure, the man who the worst prime minister. Often, when we've been comparing how bad prime ministers are, the comparison is often made, well, he's nearly as bad as Chamberlain. I've actually got more time for Chamberlain than a lot of people, and it's certainly true that when he became prime minister in 1937, he was widely regarded as the great politician of the age. He was from a great Victorian family, by the way. His father had been one of the great Victorian politicians, Joseph Chamberlain. His half-brother, get it right. His half-brother, Austin Chamberlain, had been Chancellor of the Exchequer twice, just like Neville himself, had been a great foreign secretary. And from 1931 to 1937, Neville Chamberlain had been Chancellor of the Exchequer, basically the man that was really doing most of the running of the government. When he became Prime Minister in 1937, everyone agreed he was the great man of the hour, and so did Chamberlain. And therein lies part of the problem. Now, Chamberlain inherited the German question, what to do about Germany. And the basic British line had been, well, let's try and drag the Germans into this web of agreements. Let's try and use diplomacy. Now, Chamberlain, with his view of himself as the great man of the age, Chamberlain believing he could perhaps had a unique position to do this, then faced the crisis of 1938. In 1938, Hitler threatened to invade Czechoslovakia. The excuse was the 3.5 million Sudeten Germans who lived in the Sudetenland, basically the bit around the corner of Czechoslovakia and Germany. And he got the leader of the Czech Germans, the Sudeten Germans, a guy called Conrad Henlein, to whip up a crisis. And he was demanding autonomy, first of all, for the Sudeten Germans, and then ultimately self-determination, basically the right to vote to join Hitler's Germany. When this crisis was coming to a head in September of 1938, war looked imminent. France and Russia, remember, had an agreement they would defend Czechoslovakia. In that regard is when Chamberlain cooked up an idea called Plan Z, dramatically, the last chance saloon, if you like, and he decided he would fly to meet Hitler. Communications were made, and he flew directly to meet Hitler. When he met Hitler, he went to Hitler's retreat in the Alps, the Berchtesgaden, and pretty much they reached an agreement, pretty successful agreement it seems at the time. Yes, there would be a vote in the Sudetenland. The only thing Chamberlain had to do was persuade the French to agree to it, and then persuade the Czechs. He did, and therefore flew back to Germany again to meet Hitler, this time at Goddersberg, in Baden-Baden, and oh dear, this time Hitler had changed his mind. He was in a foul mood anyway, but to be honest, he was playing a game. He now said, no, I want full self-determination, which basically means they joined Germany. War looked imminent. Chamberlain flies back and makes ready for war. He makes a famous speech where he talks about going to war over a faraway country, Czechoslovakia, of which we know little. How horrible, how fantastic, he says. And gas masks were issued. Trenches were being dug, ready to make air raid shelters. War looked imminent. Behind the scenes, via Mussolini, communications were made, and the suggestion was made of a four-power conference, a great conference of Italy, Germany, Britain and France to try and solve the problem. But dramatically, Chamberlain is in the house and he's passed a note. Reads the note, and the note is basically this offer to go and meet the four powers in Munich. Chamberlain says to the House, I do not say what my action will be, and there's wild cheering on the Conservative side. People are so relieved, and he flies off to Munich for his third visit to Hitler. The agreement's made. Goring and Mussolini both like doing it, and preening around, oh, I'm wonderful. And Hitler's in a foul mood, by the way, because he actually wanted war. The next morning, Chamberlain meets Hitler again and presents him with a document that says, from now on, if there are disagreements, we will solve them in this manner by diplomacy. Hitler signs it. It's the one, famously, that Chamberlain waves at the airport. You can see in the photograph. Hitler's aides were appalled. What did you sign that for? And he said, well, this old man came and asked me for my autograph. So I gave it to him. He nicknamed it the scrap of paper that has stuck. But at the time, it seemed as if Neville Chamberlain had saved the world. It seemed as if Neville had brought in the famous phrase he used, peace in our time. He hadn't. but most people believed he had.